the like very cliche scene of when somebody has something nasty, like they eat something bad and then it cuts and they're in the bathroom scrubbing their mouth out, but they might be like where the bad thing happened, like they ate something bad, they were like outside, like way away from their house, and then it just cuts and they're in their bathroom like and it's just showing them like how aggressively they're brushing their teeth, like to get the bad out of their mouth and spitting and all that, but they don't show you what happened all the way. So say this person's like 3 miles away from home and they had the bad shit in their mouth, and then you just cut to them in their bathroom. But what happened the whole way?
I guess that middle scene of them in their car just be like, yeah, just like, that's not that interesting. So.
Or then like, you could make really funny, like, you could make pretty good comedy out of it, like, do, like, a Curb Your Enthusiasm sort of thing, where, like, people are thinking he's being impolite, like, trying to greet him on the street, maybe, like, kiss him hello, like, no, get out of here.
I feel like that would be a good movie idea, is to, like, take all the scenes that are left out of movies that are just, like, implied, and make a whole movie of just those scenes that are implied, like someone, like, tasting something gross and then driving all the way home to brush their teeth. Like, but the movie is them driving home to brush their teeth.
All the in-between parts you normally don't see.
Oh, I like it.
But without the context, that would actually be the real funny thing. So then here's just one other funny thought I had on it. If you watch these scenes of people brushing their teeth independently of, like, seeing the thing happen that caused them to do it, they actually don't look like they're brushing their teeth that aggressively. Like, that's just how people brush their teeth. Mm-hmm. It's because you saw the scene before that they just look like they're doing it, like, really fucking intensely. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe they're adding a little something to it, but everybody's, like, brushing their teeth, like, at least I do. Maybe that's why my gums bleed. I don't know.
You're not flossing enough, I don't think.
Just kidding. Yeah, do I really need to explain this to you?
No, not really.
Like, it's funny. It's funny, honestly, that does sound that way. Like, oh, something went in my mouth. Yeah, things go in both people's, like, no matter who you're having sex with, man or woman, like, there's probably things going in your mouth. If you're doing it right.
Man, speaking of, my wisdom teeth have been fucking killing me. Like, I hate surgery and all that, so, like, I'm really... And I don't have dental insurance, so I'm afraid of going to an oral surgeon to do this shit, but, like, it's getting...
Oh, an oral surgeon, huh? You gonna go give some oral to a surgeon?
Nah.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. I deserve it. But yeah, man, it sucks. Like, I had this problem years ago where they were coming in a little bit, and that's when I first went there, but for other medical reasons, I wasn't able to do it. But I don't know. It's just like when it's like scraping the back of it. Like every time I cough, I can feel my tooth hit the back of my throat, and it's highly unpleasant. So I got to do something about it. Sucks. I'm
about to light up a cigarette here, and last night I saw an anti-vaping ad, which obviously there's been a lot of those out lately, but this was the most, yeah, at least I see them all the time on different things, like maybe it's a West Coast sort of thing, like I watch that, that shit I talk about, I get the channels from San Francisco, so of course you like see a lot of that sort of stuff from there, but I wasn't watching it last night. I think it actually popped up on Hulu, but it was like it was an anti-vaping ad, but it wasn't just like, oh, flavors addict children. They were going full on like vaping contains chromium and nickel and lead or some shit like that. It'll like damage your lungs. Like going back to like, cigarettes include all that. And I'm sure they're right. I'm not saying that they're not, but it kind of goes back to how we were starting the conversation about Mr. Potato Head and like, what's the angle here? What's the benefit of this? and I don't really have a good answer to this one, but I am really curious. What is the benefit to there being always such a huge, and I know the benefit you could say, well, it's human life, it's saving human life. But people don't care about alcohol. There's not a bunch of commercials don't drink too much because it'll destroy your liver, right? There's not a bunch of commercials don't take too many pain meds, or don't drink while you take Tylenol because your liver could bleed, or don't do this or don't do that. You know what I mean? But very specifically, they've decided that smoking needs to always have a campaign against it, and they finally got many people off of cigarettes to what is a safer alternative in vaping. And I'm not saying vaping is great, but I just really want to know, who's making money? Because somebody is making money off all these anti-smoking campaigns.
Always someone making money off of anything.
Exactly, and I just want to know, because they put way too much effort into trying to convince people not to smoke, for there not to be some huge business behind this whole thing. Maybe it's they get to raise the price of cigarettes $1 the more that they tell us that it's bad. Maybe it's they can add more taxes, and the government goes, yeah, we can get more tax dollars. These fuckers aren't going to quit. But if we keep acting like we want them to think it's bad, they're not going to mind when it goes up from $2 a pack to $10 a pack in a course of, a 7-year period like it did from the early 2000s to 2010, or something like that.
It is a...
Who's making the money?
That is a... The whole smoking thing, I mean, obviously, that is a very serious issue. I will tell you just how deaf I am. When you first started this up, I legitimately thought you said you saw an anti-bacon ad, but then you said,
"Oh, that's why you."
But because you said it was San Francisco radio stations, I'm like, well, of course, because it could be fucking anything. Oh, they're against this now, okay. And speaking of fucking
that's really funny. I like.
Speaking of,
I was just gonna say I would want to re-listen to that, thinking about that I'm talking about bacon. Well, it contains all kinds of nitrates, and
they're not good for you. But it makes sense that it would be from the West Coast, so I wasn't surprised.
It's called nitrate. How could it be good? Mm-hmm.
And speaking of other things, crazy shit from the West Coast, Oregon. Well, let me bring it up like this. Did you know that math is racist?
I can't wait to find out how.
It's pretty fun. Now, I will admit that this is coming from a Fox News article, but it seems fairly it seems like they cited their sources fairly well. So basically, to give you a gist of it, they're saying that let me find it here. So finding the right answer in a math equation is identifying objectivity as basically things can't be seen as neutral anymore. There can't be just this is definitely the fact of something, because I'm not going to explain this well, but basically they're saying that showing your work and arriving at the same answer of everybody else is a symptom of white supremacy in some fucked up manner. I don't understand how, but because everybody's subjective reality is different, that well, maybe if they're not educated well enough, 2 + 2 in their mind actually does equal 5. It's it just doesn't make any fucking sense. And
so here's my question here. So obviously you said this article's on Fox News. So this is them talking about how crazy it is that somebody else is saying this about math, right? That's what this article is saying?
Kind of. I mean, they're not hammering on it. They're a lot of it is actually
That's not the important point, but that's whom am I? This is my question. Who's the person who's making the argument that math is racist?
So it's
are they anybody important? Are there anybody that we should care about? Or is it just somebody who wants to promote their own agenda and Fox News wants to promote their own agenda, so they share this article to get people fucking riled up about it?
So where it's coming from is a lot of what they're citing is this newsletter that went around to a specific middle school district in Oregon, the city, or not city, the state that I'm looking to move to. But it kind of like they're actually quoting parts of this newsletter that was going around to the teachers to dismantle the white supremacist tendencies of mathematics. And
right, okay, so basically there's an Oregon school district who somebody has made this argument, and they found it to be compelling enough that they sent it around to different schools to say, like, so this is an education program that is trying to be put forward in Oregon. Right. This isn't just like three people were talking, and Fox News heard those three people talking and like, listen, these people are calling math racist. And it's like, well, that's just like, Bill, Joe, and Bob, and they're just having a conversation, and maybe we don't really need to care if they think that math is racist or not. There's
right. I'll read you one quote that comes from this newsletter. Apparently, it says, the framework for deconstructing racism in mathematics offers essential characteristics of anti-racist math educators and critical approaches to dismantling white supremacy in math classrooms by visualizing the toxic characteristics of white supremacy culture. Sorry, I had a big ad pop up right as I was finishing that, but yeah, it's just, I don't understand. Are we this far gone that like there cannot be any objective reality? That's what bothers me. Even if it's not,
we're this. I totally agree with you that it's like absurd to be trying to make that point. But what I think is even more absurd, and maybe this is why I'm so focused on like what the sources are and who this is coming from, is that we get so up our own asses about things, and now this will possibly affect you moving to Oregon, and if you stay there and you end up having children and they, go to one of these schools, so like for you, it potentially could be an issue. But for most of the country, this holds no bearing whatsoever, and by us having this 24-hour, news cycle and everybody just looking for the next controversy, a couple schools in Oregon, try to do what they think is right in their own, districts, in their own home, and we hear about states' rights and local rights and people being free to make their own decisions, but then a major news organization swoops in, picks up this story, and is like, this is what they want to do to all the kids in America. And it's like, no, Oregon's pretty fucking out there, and they're pretty kind of crazy, and they're just going like as far as they can with a whole bunch of things, but that's not us. That's not America. This is a local area that happens to, take very, very, I don't know, you can't even call it necessarily leftist or progressive, or I don't know what you call it. They just take extreme views that they believe are right for them. And I just think we need to stop. Like, I'm so sick. Now, okay, Andrew Cuomo is clearly in a world of hurt right now, and he seemingly may have done some very bad things, and he probably should, like, resign, but if he didn't do it, maybe he shouldn't. But here's what it comes down to at the end of the day for me. He's the governor of New York. I don't live in New York. I don't give a shit what the fuck happens to Andrew Cuomo, right? Like, I care about Ted Cruz because he's a United States senator, and his decision affects all of us in America. Why do I care what happens in Oregon? Why do I care what's happening in, like, New York? Like, and I mean, like, I care on the macro. I want all of our states to do well, and I think that we should all, be getting along, of course. But, like, on these little tiny issues, we really need to stop blowing them up into just, like, these huge problems that the whole country goes, oh my gosh, is that going to happen here next?
Probably not.
No, because nobody in Wisconsin or Alaska or wherever you are is going to make the decisions that they're making in Oregon. Nobody, let them do them if you care about freedom, and you go ahead and do you.
And you're right. You're right. I guess, we're just landing back pretty much where we started at, like overcorrection in a way. And those are just the kind of things that, like, I do think